Is our next slide for the Mars-Saturn conjunction?
Woohoo! Yep, let's move over there. That
It
sounds like a
is.
fun
Yeah,
talk.
it is. Honestly, if it's okay, I was listening to SJ on a different podcast this morning, SJ Anderson, who I find so interesting to listen to, he and Dan Waits in particular, as far as the mundane stuff go. But he mentioned something really interesting about Mars in Pisces being active dreams or turning dreams into action. And I just thought that was such a really uplifting, even concept. I mean, unless you suffer from nightmares, which we want to avoid. But, it really made me think, Krista, you have such active and adventurous type dreams that you so willingly share with everyone that I appreciate so much. But he also mentioned, in particular, the phrase dreams deliver the action, which I think was really cool. But he mentioned, and since we're all just kind of Beatles fans, Paul McCartney received I can't remember if it was the lyrics for or the hook for Yesterday in a Dream.
It was the melody, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was just a really cool, especially with Neptune still hanging out there. I just thought that was really very dreamy. No pun intended.
Yeah, I think it's both Mars and Saturn are kind of softened a little bit. It feels very Eeyore having Mars and Saturn here in Pisces. I think Mars and Saturn conjunct in other signs might feel a little bit more reckless, but in Pisces it feels just a little like wet cat energy. So maybe it's when malefics are Saturn and Mars, so malefics are going to malefic, and if they're in good condition, they're able to express their significations louder, and they're not really at home here. And so I'm considering this conjunction because whenever the malefics get together, and especially whatever house that Pisces rules for you, you're gonna you have both malefics there already, and there's constraint with Saturn, and there's kind of Mars likes to move, and sometimes he moves recklessly, but in Pisces it's like moving underwater. I saw this drone footage of these wolves under the snow, and they would poke their heads up, but they had these tunnels that were going under the snow, and it felt very Mars and Pisces. Like there's danger under there, but as long as they're kind of just in their own pack and you don't cross paths with them, just be protective and stay away. And I mean, Mars is going to move past this, but I don't really have any mitigating factors. It's like, there are hard things in life, and that's what makes the good things better, is because the good things are a foil to the hard things. So this might be a little difficult, whatever house Pisces is. Like, for instance, Pisces is my 5th house, so maybe I won't have a lot of fun that day because it's, Pisces, or the 5th house is like fun and games. It's like the Ren Fair house, like children and games and gambling. Maybe I won't go to a casino that day. Not like I go to casinos because they're way too far away from me, but I'm just saying, like, there's some actions that you can choose just to refrain from that might be a good remediation from that malefic. Again, if it hits a particular part of your house or your chart, it might speak more specifically to you. But other than that, I think it's like a kind of sit it out and wait it out sort of a day, just as a protective measure, because we recognize that Saturn and Mars are both difficult planets by nature. There's nothing wrong with them. They just provide difficulty.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, again, going back to the Decan story, we've got Jupiter and the Moon ruling this Decan that they're in at the moment, and they're forming, it's wide, but we give the Moon in Hellenistic astrology 15 degrees, because she travels so fast. And when we look at this sextile that they form with the moon, and we see the moon right in between Jupiter and Uranus, so you've got the two Decan rulers together, and that somehow feels significant. Right before Jupiter and Uranus make their conjunction, there's something that they're lending back to this Decan, telling that story in the sextile, which is of the nature of Venus. So I feel a little softening there of that, in that. And what else did I think? I made a note of those questions that we had. We recently attended a speaker series with the Nightlight school, and we were offered some questions when some of these planets meet and converge. And with Saturn, we were asked about, what is your personal mountain? What are you building? What do you want to climb? And obviously when Mars meets Saturn, you're given the opportunity for focused action. Like Mars is bringing the energy and the courage, and Saturn's bringing the discipline. So even though these are both malefics, but you can create a healthy container if you focus on, okay, what do I want to create from this? Rather than just sitting back and waiting for bad things. What if you took the action yourself and gave them a job to do? What if you looked at it that way and said, okay, what are my dreams? What is my mountain that I want to create? Which of your dreams
I love that.
Yeah, I really love making healthy containers when we see challenges.
Yes.
I've got challenges in my life. I need a lot of containers. It's like, which of your dreams is true gold? You know, which of them really speaks to you? You know, because you've got this chance now to say, okay, what form could I create from it? And what have you outgrown? Because you can just leave it behind now. Leave it in the water, it'll just drift away. So you can be ready for that. And also, where do you need to mature? There might be areas where you're clinging on to outdated patterns, and Saturn offers that ability to mature away from it. But we need to sometimes bring that consciousness. That's what Saturn's asking of us, and he's showing us ways that we need to mature, and sometimes we resist that. So it's really, okay, Mars is giving you that courage to do it, and Saturn's asking you to mature, and sometimes that can be really difficult when these things come up and we don't like it and we resist it, and that's where it can be hard. And seeing these two together, it can be hard because it's not comfortable. But if you really look at what dreams do you really feel, okay, I'm ready to go into this discomfort zone in order to build this dream, you know, you can make something really positive out of it. And the fact that you've got this sextile with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction coming up and an exalted moon, it's like that there is benefic energy there offering some support. So yeah,
I love that. I mean, I like your advice way better. And I'm reminded, especially with that moon witnessing it and Jupiter witnessing it, is the word realize feels like a very Taurus word, to make real, to like take an idea and to make it real into form. And so I like blending all of like what you and Shauna said of like taking those dreams, those actions, like dreams in the like go to sleep REM stage sense, and then also the dreams of, you know, Jupiter finds his joy in the 11th house of hopes and dreams. So like, what are you dreaming, and what sort of healthy driven container do Mars and Saturn provide to help realize and make real those dreams? So I'm changing my mind. Don't set it out. Like, you're fully empowered to do what you want, but in a mature way, like kind of a growing out of the shell, which can be difficult or uncomfortable or painful. Thanks, Sonia.
Yeah, in a way, it just feels like, sorry, Janessa. It just feels like Saturn is tethering Mars so that Mars will slow down and think about before, you know.
Yeah, and I think this is the only time in that Saturn transit, I think that's the only time that Mars is going to be conjunct Saturn and Pisces. So to me, it kind of speaks to like a low, like being that they're both malefic, being like maybe the lowest point here, or like rock bottom. And then again, like what Sonia was just saying, like kind of looking towards that Jupiter, Moon, Uranus situation as like the way out of that, or like the light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, I guess I kind of, you know, if we're talking about Saturn and Pisces having themes of like depression, and then Mars being conjunct there, just kind of like amplifying that to the max, and that being the only time that they meet, I think, yeah, like rock bottom is kind of what's coming to mind.